Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be building some shelves. So I'm going to show you guys the process how I would do it if I was going to be installing shelves. You need a shelf, you want to get a shelf up. What do I do? First things first, you need to have the material that you're going to use for your shelf. I am actually using 7¼ inch MDF. Also going to be using this wood. This is solid wood. This was left over from shelves that I built at a client's home. So anytime you guys have scrap materials, it's always good to hold on to them. You never know when you're gonna use them again, and it'll also save you money in the long run, right? Both of these are 7¼ Keep in mind what it is you're gonna be putting on the shelf, because that will determine if you're gonna be putting brackets underneath, something strong to hold it, and how you're gonna mount it. Top shelf. This wood one is going to be the bottom shelf. Now, in order for my shelves to fit and to sit on the wall, there's different things we could do. We could put a bracket here, a bracket here, and a bracket here. I don't have brackets, so instead of using back brackets, I cut down some 1.5 inch MDF off of the scrap that I had, and I'm basically going to fasten this to the wall. And I'll cut these down for each corner. And while this is attached to the wall, my shelf will sit on the wood like that. Fastened to the wall. This side will be fastened to the wall. And this side will be fastened to the wall. So I'm gonna put glue all along this back edge. I'm gonna take my stud finder as well, and I'm gonna want to shoot into the studs. So that way this piece is secure. This ledger is secured to the wall. And then what I'm gonna do after that is my shelf will sit like that. The two shelves that we're putting up, I already drew a mark on the wall. We went over the measurements and I asked her exactly where she wanted the shelf, sorry. And we marked off here, we marked off here. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna take my laser level. If you guys don't have one of these are awesome. Okay, so we have our marks that we want our heights for our shelves. There's one right here, there's a pencil mark where the laser is, and then there's one right here. If you don't have a laser level, I suggest you get one. It's very convenient. It will give you a straight line around the room or whichever wall you're working on. Before attaching my ledgers to the wall, I'm actually going to put a small bead of PL glue. This adhesive is very strong and I use it in all my shelves. If I was putting a shelf with brackets, I obviously wouldn't have these boards. So it's just something to keep in mind and determining how you're going to be mounting your shelf, whether you're going to be using this ledger board or you're going to be using brackets. And that will obviously depend on the weight of what you're going to be putting on your shelves.
gonna give them a quick sand. Just wanted to get it a little bit smoother, just for it has a nice finished look. I know these are just shelves, so I'm not going too crazy. It's not like it's gonna be seen. So I'm just gonna knock it down with a 120 grit and hit the sharp edges at the front. Once that's complete, I'm gonna do just a quick dry fit. In the meantime, while that's drying, I'm going to fill these holes using my Dried-X spackling. Don't forget to paint inside the corners and your front edges. I just use a piece of paper. I butt it up to the front of the edge, and that way I can get the brush fairly close without getting a lot of paint on the wall. Another option is you could also put a piece of tape there. And I'm going to do the same thing for all four corners. Next, I'm gonna put on my bottom. This is the solid wood one, and I'm actually gonna shoot a couple nails on an angle. You want to make sure, if you are doing this, that they don't come straight through out the bottom. You actually want them to go into the wall. If you know where your stud is, you could possibly try and shoot it on a 45 into the stud, but that's really overkill. As long as you're shooting it into the wall, I believe that's sufficient enough, because you're just basically holding down your shelf in place so it doesn't slide out. And I'm actually going to put the caulking on top of it to seal the shelf itself to the wall. I'm going to repeat the same process on the top shelf. And I'm also gonna seal the bottom because this shelf will be seen when you walk in. So I just didn't want to see the crack or any space in between the bottom of the shelf and the ledger. Wanted to make it look like it's one piece, one continuous piece. That's why I decided to caulk it. I usually caulk all my shelves. When wiping your caulking, you want to make sure you have a wet finger. So I have a wet rag, and while my finger's wet, I'm gonna put it in the corner along the shelf and the wall and pull tightly, removing excess caulking as I pull my finger down. I can't go all the way to the end, so I'm gonna come back in from the other side and just go to where I stopped, right there. And that will give me a nice, clean, smooth finish on the caulking. That's the same procedure I'm gonna do on the corners, on the bottoms, everywhere that I caulk. That's what I want to do to get it a nice, clean finish. Alright, and here is the finished product. Keep in mind, for different types of shelves, you can have bigger shelves that come away from the wall. You also have different types of brackets as well. If you guys like what you see, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.